Please, someone help me. Please help me.
Sarah, what is all this about?
Please help me.
Sarah had spent years believing that if she ever became too weak to stand, her husband would be the first person to catch her. She was wrong. On the day her body finally gave up, Lu Jingxian wasn't holding her. He was holding another woman, a pregnant woman. And when Sarah collapsed in front of them, the man she had loved more than anyone in the world didn't run toward her. He ran toward the woman, carrying what everyone believed was his child. Sarah watched him disappear from her blurred vision, and something inside her broke. Not her heart, that had broken long before. This time, it was hope. What nobody in that mansion knew was that Sarah wasn't simply exhausted. She wasn't suffering from stress. And she wasn't weak because she couldn't handle her marriage. Sarah was dying. For years, she had secretly been battling leukemia. And she had made one terrible decision. She had decided to suffer alone. There had been a time when Sarah and Jingxian were deeply in love. Their marriage had not begun with betrayal. It had begun with friendship. Then friendship became affection. Affection became love. And eventually, marriage. Jingxian had been completely different around Sarah. The cold CEO who terrified business competitors became gentle with her. He remembered little things. Her favorite foods. The music she liked. The way she preferred her tea. He would cancel meetings simply to spend an evening with her. Sarah believed she had found the one person who would never abandon her. Then, everything changed. Sarah became sick. At first, she thought it was exhaustion. Then came the bruising, the fever, the weakness, the dizziness. The doctors eventually gave her the diagnosis. Leukemia. The disease could be treated, but treatment would be long, expensive, and uncertain. Sarah looked at Jingxian. She saw how much pressure already surrounded him. His company was growing. His family was demanding grandchildren. His mother constantly reminded him that the Lu family needed an heir. Sarah became terrified. She didn't want Jingxian to stay with her out of pity. So she made a decision. She would hide the truth. And that decision would eventually destroy their marriage. Sarah began living two lives. At home, she was Jingxian's wife. At the hospital, she was a patient fighting for her life. She hid the medication. She hid the hospital bills. She hid the medical reports. She hid the moments when she was too weak to walk. And whenever Jingxian asked what was wrong, she smiled. She told him she was tired. She told him she was fine. But there was another problem. Jingxian began noticing her distance. Sarah became quieter. She stopped asking him to spend time with her. She stopped making plans for the future. She stopped talking about children. She stopped saying she needed him. Jingxian didn't understand. He believed Sarah was falling out of love. He didn't know she was trying to prepare him for life without her. And while Sarah was protecting him from the pain of losing her, someone else was quietly exploiting the distance between them. Madame Lu. Lin Mei entered Jingxian's life at exactly the right moment. She was introduced through the Lu family's social circle. She appeared vulnerable, kind, and most importantly, she appeared to understand Jingxian. Madame Lu encouraged the relationship. At first, Jingxian resisted. He was still married. But Sarah's emotional distance made him vulnerable. Then Lin Mei announced that she was pregnant. Everything changed. Madame Lu saw an opportunity. If Sarah left, Lin Mei could become the mother of the Lu heir. But there was a problem. Jingxian still loved Sarah. So Madame Lu began manipulating him. She showed him carefully edited messages. She suggested Sarah had another man. She convinced him Sarah had already decided to leave. She told him Sarah was staying only because of his money. And slowly, Jingxian began believing it. Sarah saw what was happening. But she remained silent because she knew she was sick. And she believed that fighting for a marriage she might not live long enough to enjoy would only make everyone suffer. Sarah eventually realized that her marriage was disappearing. Not because she stopped loving Jingxian, because she had stopped believing she had a future. She packed quietly. She took very little. A few clothes, some photographs, her medical records, and the wedding ring. She couldn't bring herself to throw it away. Before leaving, she stood inside their bedroom for the last time. She remembered the nights they had laughed, the mornings they had shared, the promises, the plans. Then she walked away. Jing Xian found her absence later, and instead of feeling relieved, he felt betrayed. He believed Sarah had abandoned him. What he didn't know was that Sarah had left because she was afraid he would watch her die. And then came the day Sarah's body finally refused to cooperate. She collapsed. Her blood pressure dropped. Her body was dangerously weak. A servant called for help. But Jing Xian was already gone. He had taken Lin Mei to the hospital. Everyone assumed he was choosing the pregnant woman over his wife. Sarah woke up hours later. The first thing she saw was a hospital ceiling. The second thing she saw was her doctor. The doctor looked frightened. Sarah's blood counts had fallen dangerously low. Her illness had progressed. The years of hiding, it had come at a cost. Sarah had spent so long protecting Jing Xian that she had neglected the person who needed protection most, herself. While Sarah was fighting for her life, Jing Xian was beginning to discover that Lin Mei's pregnancy wasn't what it appeared to be. The dates didn't match. The medical records contained inconsistencies. The pregnancy timeline contradicted information Lin Mei had previously given him. Then Jing Xian discovered something even more disturbing. Lin Mei had been receiving money from someone connected to his mother. The payments had started months earlier. The evidence suggested the pregnancy had been used as part of a larger plan. Jing Xian confronted his mother, and for the first time in his life, he saw fear in her eyes. She had manipulated him. She had deliberately created misunderstandings between him and Sarah. She had encouraged Lin Mei. She had helped create false evidence. And she had hidden something else. Sarah was seriously ill. Madame Lu had known. She had known about Sarah's leukemia, and she had used it against her. Jing Xian opened Sarah's medical records, and his world stopped. Leukemia, treatment history, repeated hospitalizations, emergency visits, blood transfusions, complications. The woman he had accused of abandoning him had been fighting for her life, alone, for years. Jing Xian suddenly remembered every moment he had misunderstood. Every time Sarah refused dinner. Every time she looked exhausted. Every time she avoided talking about the future. Every time she smiled and told him she was fine. He had thought she didn't care. She had been terrified. He had thought she was pushing him away. She had been trying to protect him. He had thought she had another man. She had been sitting in hospital rooms alone. The truth destroyed him. Because, suddenly, the pregnant mistress wasn't the victim. Sarah was. Jing Xian confronted his mother. For the first time, he wasn't speaking to her as her son. He was confronting her as a husband who had discovered that the woman he loved had been deliberately destroyed. His mother had believed she was protecting the Lu family. She believed Sarah's illness made her unsuitable. She believed Jing Xian needed a healthy wife, a pregnant wife, a woman who could produce the heir the family wanted. She believed she had sacrificed one woman to save the family, but she had never understood what her manipulation would cost. Jing Xian finally understood. His mother hadn't simply interfered in his marriage. She had stolen years from him. Years he could have spent loving Sarah. Years he could have spent helping her fight the disease. Years that could never be recovered. And now, Sarah's condition was getting worse. Jing Xian went to the hospital. For the first time, the powerful CEO looked completely helpless. Sarah was awake, but she wouldn't look at him. She had spent years preparing herself to let him go. Now, he wanted to return. He wanted to fix everything. He wanted another chance. But Sarah was exhausted. Not angry. Not hateful. Just exhausted. Jing Xian finally understood that forgiveness wasn't something he could demand. He had to earn it. He had to prove that his regret wasn't simply fear of losing her. He had to prove that he loved her even when there was nothing she could give him. Not children. Not wealth. Not a perfect future. Just herself. So he stopped begging for immediate forgiveness and started showing up. Jing Xian used every resource he had. He contacted specialists. He consulted hospitals. He funded research. He searched internationally for treatment options. He didn't tell Sarah about everything at first. He simply worked, day and night. The CEO, who once measured success in billions, now measured it in one thing: Sarah's survival. He didn't know whether he could save her, but he refused to stop trying. Meanwhile, Sarah continued treatment. Her condition remained unstable. Some days were better. Some were terrifying. And slowly, she began noticing something. Jingxian was still there. He wasn't leaving. He wasn't demanding anything. He was simply present. For the first time in years, Sarah began wondering whether perhaps she had been wrong to believe she had to die alone. The final piece of the deception came from Lin Mei. Under investigation, she finally admitted the truth. Her pregnancy had been exaggerated. The timeline had been manipulated. She had been paid. She had been instructed to create situations that would make Jingxian distrust Sarah. She had been promised a place inside the Liu family. But she had never expected the plan to go this far. She hadn't expected Sarah to become critically ill. She hadn't expected Jingxian to discover everything. And she certainly hadn't expected the man she believed would choose her to turn against the entire family for Sarah. The truth became undeniable. Madame Liu had orchestrated the separation. Lin Mei had participated. Several family employees had helped falsify records. The conspiracy finally collapsed. And the woman everyone had blamed was finally vindicated. But justice couldn't erase the damage. Sarah's illness had progressed. There were moments when the doctors weren't sure she would survive. Jingxian refused to leave her side. He slept in the hospital. He ate when someone reminded him. He watched her breathe. He remembered everything they had lost. And every night, he blamed himself. Not because he had caused her illness, but because he had failed to see her suffering. Sarah had spent years believing she was protecting him. Jingxian finally realized that she had never needed protection from him. She had needed partnership. She had needed someone to stand beside her. And now, he was determined to become that person. After months of treatment, something changed. Sarah's doctors found a treatment plan that finally began working. Her condition stabilized. It wasn't an instant miracle. There was no magical cure. There were setbacks. There were frightening days. There were moments when everyone feared the worst. But slowly, Sarah became stronger. Her blood counts improved. She could walk farther. She could eat more. She could smile without forcing it. And Jingxian witnessed every improvement. The woman he had almost lost was coming back. Not the old Sarah. A stronger one. A woman who had survived something she never should have had to face alone. Jingxian knew an apology couldn't erase the past. He couldn't give Sarah back the years she had spent alone. He couldn't erase the nights she had cried in hospital rooms. He couldn't erase the moment she collapsed and watched him run toward another woman. But he could tell her the truth. He had loved her, even when he behaved like he didn't. He had been manipulated, but he was also responsible for believing the lies. And Sarah had been wrong too. She had tried to protect him by shutting him out. She had made decisions for him without allowing him to choose. Both of them had been hurt by silence. Both had been manipulated by other people. And both had allowed fear to destroy something beautiful. This time, they chose honesty. Months later, Sarah and Jingxian renewed their vows. Not because their first marriage had been meaningless, but because they wanted a new beginning. This time, there were no secrets, no mistress, no manipulation, no family pressure, no pretending. Sarah openly continued her treatment. Jingxian stood beside her, not as her savior, not as her billionaire husband, as her partner. The Liu family eventually had to confront the consequences of what they had done. Madame Liu lost her influence. Lin Mei faced the consequences of her actions. The people who falsified documents were held accountable. And Jingxian rebuilt his relationship with his mother only after she accepted responsibility. But the greatest change happened inside Jingxian. He stopped allowing his family to make decisions for his marriage. And Sarah stopped believing she had to sacrifice herself to protect the people she loved. A year earlier, Sarah had collapsed on a marble floor while her husband rushed after another woman. She had believed that was the end of her marriage, perhaps even the beginning of the end of her life. But sometimes, the truth arrives at the exact moment everything seems lost. Jing Xian had once believed Sarah didn't love him. Sarah had believed Jing Xian would be better off without her. Both were wrong. They had loved each other deeply. They had simply allowed fear, silence, and manipulation to speak louder than their love. Sarah survived, not because love magically cured her, but because she finally stopped fighting alone. Jing Xian changed, not because he was afraid of losing his wife, but because he finally understood what it meant to stand beside someone. And their marriage changed too. It was no longer built on assumptions. It was built on honesty, on communication, on choice, on showing up. Sarah no longer hid when she was hurting. Jing Xian no longer believed everything his family told him. And neither of them allowed other people to decide what their love was worth. The pregnant mistress had been a lie. The abandonment had been a misunderstanding. The betrayal had been carefully engineered. But the love between Sarah and Jing Xian had been real all along. And perhaps that was the greatest lesson their story left behind. Sometimes, the person who looks like they stopped loving you may actually be fighting a battle you cannot see. And sometimes, the person who thinks they have been abandoned may simply be standing on the other side of a wall built from fear. Sarah and Jing Xian spent years trapped behind that wall. But in the end, they tore it down and chose each other again.